Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Talk That Talk Tuesday. As you can see, I am not Black Man Unfiltered. He is out with his wife and enjoying his anniversary. And I will be filling in for him tonight as the host. Tonight's topic that we're going to be discussing this evening is going to be called Meeting Your Parents' Expectations. Are we doing too much? And with that being said, I have a fantastic panel who will be coming to you today. But before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and recognize a few people in the chat. The first person to recognize is Take Heed to the Message. Thank you so much for coming out, darling. Lady Navoa, one of the most fantastic moderators of all time. We also have Dr. Nakumbe in the chat. Thank you for arriving, sir. We have King Ball 11. Hello, sir. Also, Black Man Unfiltered. I'm pretty sure he's watching from the clouds. We also have Reckless Ray De Niro. Thank you so much for showing up, sir. Al B in the house. Christina Watts in the house. Marriage, Politics, and Sports in the house. And we also have Black David, being point guarded by the best, him and Alexis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and bring the panel up one at a time. The first person we're going to bring up, Black David, surprises. Let's see who we got. Come on down. Oh, yes, the one and the only. Take heed to the message. How are you this evening, darling?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not following Take Heed to the Message, you are truly missing a blessing every single day on Instagram and on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Next person we have is not only the one and only Reckless Ray De Niro. Ray, how are you, sir?
Body shots all night. What's up? What's up? Better than I deserve. How are y'all doing?
Indeed. Good to have you, sir. Good to have you. And our next panelist is none other than the one and only Anissa Glass. How are you this evening, lady? Oh, you on mute. You on mute. Let's hear your voice. How are you?
Good evening.
Good to see
How's
you.
everyone doing? Great.
Good. Glad to have you this evening, darling.
Thank you.
Next, we have the one and only Ricky Williams. How are you, Ricky, sir? Come on down.
Too blessed to be stressed. What's good, family? How y'all doing?
Thank
Happy
you so much
Tuesday. Happy Tuesday.
Indeed. Thank you for coming out. We have one more. None other than the one and only beautifully animated speaks. Yes, you know she gets those sprinkles. How are you this evening, darling?
I'm better.
Good to hear that. Who else we got back in the back, Black David? I know we got some more people. Is that it? I think that's it, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, the name of this topic is meeting your parents' expectations. Are you doing too much? I'm going to give y'all a little backstory on how I came to be. My dad was a radio announcer here in Birmingham, Alabama. He was a radio announcer for a lot of different gospel radio shows and radio shows. And those are the things that he did. And he went around and had MCs and different functions or whatever. And my dad was one of those people, man, people just gravitated to. You know what I mean? He just had that suave. You know what I'm saying? My mom used to say, well, your dad is something else. Why? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, growing up, I used to listen to my dad on the radio, and I used to want to follow in his footsteps. Now, this monster that we have today, I couldn't have planned any better than this, because this social media thing is something different. And to actually to basically follow in his footsteps is a blessing to me. So that's one of the things I get a chance to do. I get a chance to meet different people just like he did. I get a chance to touch different people just like he did and reach a whole audience of people that you never know that's listening. So that's one of the things that we want to go ahead and start off with. Take heed to the message. Let's go ahead and get started, darling. Are we doing too much in following our parents' footsteps?
It's kind of hard to say, because my parents' footsteps, I don't have like a beautiful story like you do. Mine is very different. So my mother was this high yellow, beautiful light-skinned sister, had a beautiful Coca-Cola bottle shape, and my daddy was this tall, dark gentleman with some swagger. And my mom was his side chick. She was his side chick, and he had a family already. So my daddy threw that swagger on, And that's what happened. My daddy threw that swagger on, and then I was here. So I don't really have, a beautiful story with that.
All right. Thank you, Take. Reckless Ray, what about you, sir?
I also do not have a good story. I mean, I've told multiple times. I'm like, the main thing that I was trained was like they trained weakness out with me. We were not allowed to be weak, so that's my point of reference. I mean, I feel like it worked out great, but a lot of the stuff when it comes to expectation, I'm like, if it's not an expectation with a beating behind it, I don't believe that's an actual expectation. And like honestly, I feel like a lot of people who navigate in the realm of expectation, like I don't think we're doing enough. I think we're disgracing our ancestors. I think everybody on this country, regardless of what race you are, your ancestors are pissed right now. Ours are pissed a little bit less, but overall, we are weak. We're not willing to fight for ourselves or each other or this country or our communities. We're not willing to disassociate ourselves from the cancer in our communities. We're not willing to stand on anything. Our society has gotten so bad, people, that we got white people out here running around wanting to be Marxists now. Like white people can't even save this no more. Their ancestors are pissed, took this whole country over, and now they're actively gonna just burn it to the ground amongst themselves. We're all on the same boat is the problem. And like people act like we're disassociated. We want to run around, we want to be individuals, we want to not have any type of discipline, any type of guidance. We're doing all this as a social experiment that's going horribly wrong. So like I don't think that there's enough expectation. We're telling people to follow their dreams. We're telling people to do what they want. A lot of you need to start doing what's necessary because you are dying. You are dying out. You're dysgenic. You're weak, and you're stupid. And you let people tell you what to be mad at and what to react to because you can't think for yourself because you're also lazy. You're actively dying, people. But you want to say that the expectation, the burden of performance is too much. Welcome to existing. You could have been a rabbit. All they do is get eaten by shit. That could have been your life. You could have been a deer. All they do is get eaten by shit. You got a chance, and you want to sit here and complain in the face of generations of people who went through all sorts of actual trauma and actual tragedy and actual stuff to reproduce, to get you here to be the end of your bloodline because you don't want to get out here in the rat race and compete. It's pathetic. And so are you. That's why God hates you.
Thank you, Ray. Anissa, you're next, darling. Are we doing too much? Are we meeting our parents' expectations?
Definitely, I don't think that we are meeting our parents' expectations. I think when I look at how I grew up and I look at my parents' relationship, I think there's a lot of good things that I took from it, and there are a lot of things that I'm like, I definitely do not want to have that in my relationship. But I think just generally as a whole, and when you look at the just the state of relationships and families and our children and all of those things, I think we definitely have let our ancestors down. We're just a long way from the way things used to be. It's a totally different mindset. And it's so many different influences, good and bad, and I think we're just seeing the results of that today. So,
Okay. Thank you, Anissa. Ricky, where you at, sir?
You're
Great. Ricky, are we meeting our parents' expectations or are we doing too much?
come on now. Y'all know ain't nobody met their parents' expectations.
Right.
That's just the facts. You know what I'm saying? We were built, we were put here to disappoint. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, man, your parents want you. I mean, the best your parents can hope for is for you to be better than them, right? I think that's the point of having kids, to have them
Right.
to be better than you, right?
Right.
What does that entail, right? Well, nowadays, for most people, as long as they're doing financially better than they parents, right? Or
Right.
I got a nicer house, I got a nicer car, I get to go eat steak every, once a week or whatever, right?
Right.
But does that include morals, integrity, honor,
Right.
discipline,
Right.
determination? Probably not, right? But they'll say, me getting to the money is all that, right?
Right.
They'll say me getting to the money is all that, right? So, um, I know my mother didn't have me to be no business, right?
True that.
You're supposed to be about your business, but I am not a business, right? The extent of a win is just not when you get paid,
Right.
right? Because if that's the case, then you can't see people for what they really are, which are experiences, right? Which are assets to your life, in a better way than money could ever be,
Right.
right? So the thing is, man, I look at it like this, right? Shout out to my boy Ray De Niro, money man, Ray De Niro. You know what I'm saying? I feel what he's saying, right? But at the end of the day, if you're being totally honest, if we're being totally transparent, it's your life at the end of the day.
Correct. You're absolutely right.
It's your life at the end of the day, right? So while your parents can expect what they want, what I can hope and dream for what they want, at the end of the day, you the one who got to live with the consequences, circumstances. Yeah, they might have to live with the embarrassment, the
True that.
disappointment, the letdown, but at the end of the day, it's your life. So, I mean, I think some people do too much. I think some people do too little. So
I
it's all
agree.
dependent. It's all depending on what shoes you got on. That's all I got.
Thank you, Ricky. Coming to the stage, none other than the one and only R Payne. R Payne, how are you today, sir?
Hey, all right. Hey, listen, I don't have my camera's acting up, so I just have my avatar up there. So
Okay, you're fine. You're fine.
yeah. Anyway, hey, listen, I heard the message. It's funny. I'm the person that everybody says ruined the whole world because I'm a baby boomer.
You're a baby
You know,
boomer.
yeah. So
It's all your fault.
it's all my fault, man. I tell you what. Anytime I want to get some cathartic healing, I go listen to Angry Man. And he tells me how much of a horrible person I am. I mean, oh my God, man. He hates baby boomers to a different level, right?
Right.
So and he had me say, listen, man, I was only 6 years old, man. I'm a Gen Xer, man. Because I was born at the end of the baby boomer generation. But answering the questions, I really my mother died when I was young. I was 8. I was 8. And I moved in with my paternal grandmother and grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of her daughters still live with us. I was with my aunts, a lot of women around the house. And but my father was still in the picture. He was just working 18 hours a day.
Right.
So we seen him every so often, so he was in the life, but my expectations were to please my Aunt Mary. I actually had an Aunt Mary, and I believe she died a virgin. She raised like 5 generations of my family,
Right.
and through that house that we lived in the Bronx. And the only thing I had to do was just please her, graduate from high school, go to college. I remember when I graduated from college, all she did was just take my degree and just say, okay. She didn't say, good work. She just grabbed my degree and put it in a frame. You did something, So
Right.
she had expectations and I met those. So, but I kind of passed those things on to my daughters. I have 2 daughters. And it's funny, these YouTube spaces gave me some perspective I didn't think about because I do want my daughters to get married. They're feminine because their mother's real feminine, but they just about their business,
Right.
really, And I did tell them about college that they will never be around a better pool of eligible men than they will be when they were in college.
Absolutely.
So make sure you keep some numbers. But I don't know what they're going to do, man. I'm giving them all kinds of horror stories that if they get to like 40, 45 years old, they're going to be alone and blah, blah, blah. They look at me like I'm crazy out there. YouTube too much, that kind of shit. But I imparted a lot of stuff to them, and my number one goal when they were young was that they could read and write and never be afraid of math. And when they started working, that they could make money on their own, but not be independent.
Right.
So you see me and my wife, we're pretty close. My better half is behind me, so
Right.
I don't, I put some hex on her, so she stayed around, but that's another story for another day. But so anyway, so yeah, I didn't have the same kind of expectation as some other people, but I think I would have, if my parents were together, they would have been proud of me, my brother, my two brothers, and my sister. I mean, we all were public servants, and we all did pretty well in life, and we're all still doing pretty well in life, God willing. So that's the way that is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, quick question, another question for you guys. Are we expected to live up to the expectations of our parents? You know what I mean? Just like our Payne was talking about. At the age of 24 and 25, my mom and dad were married and they had me, you know what I'm saying, at 25. So today's the average age of people having kids is about what, 28, getting married about 30, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And now we have a whole bunch of people who are waiting later in life to have kids. Take heed. Let me ask you a question. Are we expected to at least live up to our parents' standards?
Well, I will say this for my own children. I have to say this for my own children. The expectations of my parents, I couldn't really, I can't really go by. There's an echo. Is that me?
Everybody on mute. Go ahead.
Okay. So, the expectations of my parents that they had, they lived in the world. So they were mostly on drugs and stuff like that. So I didn't really have a good, how you say, model. You understand? Because they was doing their own thing and my mom was just having babies left and right. So when I got older, and I was a teen mom as well because of the nonsense and my surroundings or whatever, but I put in my mind, like, I'm not going to raise my children this way. I'm not going to be on drugs and got a revolving door and all this stuff. And I was like, I can't raise my kids this way. I just don't want to. And I lived in the projects mostly all my adult, no, I say my youth to about maybe 19. So then I got out on my own and just was like, let me just start fresh. And so years later, I met my husband, and I wanted different. I wanted to live well. I didn't want to have to be in the projects and everybody come borrow sugar and salt and butter and all this and some bread if you got a bag of chicken. So I didn't want to go through all that with mine. And I wanted to live comfortable, and I didn't want to see all the drug dealers out on the corner. Even though at the time when me and my husband first married, we did not have a house yet. We lived in an apartment, but where we lived at, it was a little cooled down. It wasn't too much drama. But from what I expect from my children, I want them to go to college. I want all of them to go to college, but this is the kicker. I want them to make sure they look for husbands. I want them to get themselves ready to be a wife. You know what I'm saying? And I want my son to govern himself properly, that he's ready to be a husband. I don't want my kids to grow up like everybody else children and be thinking, oh, I'm going to wait till I'm 40, 50 something years old and get married. The line of work that I do, I watch a lot of people pass away alone without their families. They don't have no children, but they got a whole boatload of money, but they don't have no kids. And then they're at the point where they can't talk for themselves. So you only see the nurse and the doctor going in and out the room. Nobody's coming to see you. So when it's time for you to go on to glory, you just get zipped up in a bag and they take you down. So I myself, I'm training my children, my girls to be wives. I'm training them to be respectful by doing it in their face with their father, like being respectful to my husband and bringing his plate and making sure his house is clean. And I'm not sitting up here saying that I'm perfect, because sometimes I get out of line and my husband be like, nah, check that. I like when he pull his glasses down, nah, check that. So so I just want my children to be greater than me and their father. You know what I'm saying? To
Right.
do better, and to um, just take time to vet. Take time to vet. I don't even want them. I talk to them about drugs. I talk to them about sex. I sit down and just lay that thing all out for them, because I want them to understand that I want you to wait till you get married. You know what I'm saying? To make a soul tie. I want you to wait. So we got an older girl in here. She'll be going to college next year. And she said to me one day, me and her father was sitting on the chair, and she said to both of us, she said, Mama, you're a good woman, but I do not want your life. I said, oh yeah. She said,
Uh-oh.
nah. She said, when you were young, Ma, I do not want your life. She said, the life you got now, though, Mama, I'll take that. She said, but the life when you were growing up, Mama, I don't think I could do that. And I told her, and I pray you never have to. I pray you never have to. I want my children to be wives. I want my girls to be wives, and I want my sons to be husbands. I'm just not one of those parents that like, oh, you don't have to get married. Cause I want to see grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
don't want my grandchildren to be out of wedlock. I don't want my children to follow my path. You feel me? And I don't want them to be struggling, trying to find mates and all this stuff. Cause truth be told, do you see how when people wait so long to get married, they wait so long to get married, and then they wind up with a Pookie and Ray at the wall? Now in your old age, you struggling to pay everything because you just waited. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Look at Shirley Strawberry. She going through some nonsense now, and I feel bad for that sister. And I know she was foxy back in the day. And look at her, she with that jailbird. That don't even make no sense. But that's just my take on it. That's all, y'all.
Thank you, Tiki. Welcome to the stage, Mrs. Jenny Jones. How are you this evening, darling?
I'm a lot better now. Thank you.
Good.
I was trying to get here early, but my laptop was messing up. But
That's okay. How much of the show have you heard so far?
I just came in when you let me up is as much as I heard when Miss
Okay.
Heed Take Heed when she was talking.
Okay, good. Now, here's the thing. I want to ask you a question. The name of the show is Are we living up to our parents' expectations? Are we meeting our parents' expectations? Are we doing too much? What are your comments on that? How do you feel about that?
So when you say are we meeting up to our parents' expectations, do you mean like if we had a good example or if we had a bad
Any example? Here's the thing. It can be anything that you want it to be, because different parents have different expectations based upon their experience. And sometimes they can project their experience onto you. And my question is, are we doing too much trying to live up to their expectations?
I think that we can do too much. We can put too much pressure on ourselves to live up to how they think that our lives should be. Some parents, they want to live vicariously through their children because they didn't get to do X, Y, and Z that they wanted to do. So I think that definitely can happen. But I think that it's good, to want to honor your parents in a way that you don't live a life that shames them and embarrasses them. So I think it all depends on what the expectations are. Like Miss Takheed said, she wants her children to be spouses and to not have to struggle like she did. I think that would be really great if her kid lived up to her expectations.
Right. You know what? A while back, I did a live about the elders, and I'm not sure if anybody got a chance to see that. And we talked about having the ability to honor your elders, and that the role that they provide. And take heed, a minute ago, you mentioned that about making sure that, we have our grandparents intact because they pass on a certain level of expectations of the family. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. My question to Anissa is this: why is it important for us to make sure that we have a family culture? And does that play into how we live up to our family's expectations?
Well, a family culture is important because it's the root of everything, of your family. So when you go back and you think about your great grandparents and your grandparents and all of the things that they taught you, they were really about family. They stuck it out no matter what. You raised your kids no matter what. You did whatever it took, to keep that family together. And you just kind of learn the importance of that and spending time with family and holidays with family, and everything was about family. I think that core, those core values are so important and so critical, because you can't help but take a piece of that with you, as you grow. Now, there are some things you might do different here and there, but those core values of family and reuniting with family for reunions and all of those things just lend so much importance to your life and to your values and to your future. So I just think it's just a critical, necessary part. I think that every parent, though, wants more for their child. Every parent wants you to do better. Every parent wants you to have better. Every parent wants you to have better experiences. And so all of that goes to shape, who you are and what you do in your life. So.
Indeed. Ray, let me ask you a question. All right, Ray. Imagine this. This is the future. Okay.
Okay.
And you have your 6-year-old granddaughter sitting on your lap. And she says, "Pop, pop, am I doing good?" And what advice would you give her as far as life lessons going forward for her? What is she to expect? How do you explain life to your 6-year-old daughter?
I'd just tell her to run. Like, run for the hills. Run
Life
anywhere.
ain't no
Like,
crystal
by this
stair.
time, just be like, look, don't dye your hair purple and think that you need to be 800 pounds. Like, don't listen to them old Lizzo records. Run away from everything that you've seen the women who've come before you, aside from your mama, do. Like, and if your mama sucked, then I'm gonna tell her to run from her too. Like, this, yeah, I mean, there's only so much advice you need to give a woman, in my opinion. Be pleasant. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Smile and be nice to people. Don't pretend like the world is just out here kidnapping all of you, taking advantage of all of you, beating on all of you. Don't believe women who look like you and maybe share your skin tone that lie on the internet and then give them money so that you can look like an idiot and then be too prideful to come back to the table and say, "Oops, I was wrong." Don't be afraid to say you was wrong. And most importantly, be pleasant. Being pleasant will get you very, 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 very far in life, people. And I mean, that's just across the board. Against popular belief, I am very pleasant in real life because hitting people is still illegal in this country. So you have to err on the side of pleasantry. And you know what? It diffuses most situations before they become a situation. And I would just make sure, I'd be like, you know what? Because 6-year-olds are generally pretty happy. And I just tell them, don't lose that. Just keep a hold of that. Like, as a woman, you got to keep the happiness of a 6-year-old, because only people that get to be happy are women and children. If it was a little 6-year-old boy, I'd be like, you better enjoy this shit because it's going away. And I'm counting the days until it does. I'm going to be the one to take it. I'm taking it from you. But Women and children are the only people who get to be happy. And children, it's a small, narrow window. If you're a little boy, like I think back on the days when I used to just wake up, run outside, and just run around screaming, laughing in the wilderness, breaking stuff and not having to pay for it, breaking other people's shit and not having to pay for it, doing whatever the hell I want, and really little to no consequence. That goes away as soon as you get tall enough to do work. It's over. It's over. It's over. You go through it like it hurts my soul to see so many women that are just jaded to hell because they chose to compete with men for resources and didn't think they was going to end up like us.
Ray, let me ask you, would you tell her to focus on being a wife, or would you tell her to, just follow your heart and your dreams?
I would tell her that there's no way in hell she gonna make it to the end of this life alone, unscathed, not fucked up, not on every drug known to man to like make it so that she can get through her work day of 8 hours that she's gonna complain about, and then she's gonna complain about the 32-hour work week that they gonna give them, and then she's gonna complain about the robots replacing her. Like I would say, you know what, working's cool and all, but like real talk, women are not built for the arduousness of competing with men for resources. They're just not. Even the high performing women, look at how many mental stabilizers they're on to keep them together. To keep them together. Just to make it so that you can get from 8 a.m. to 5. You got to take how many pills to come compete with me? I can take a 30-minute nap. I worked a 12-hour shift today, took a 30-minute nap. Here I am. I'm going to take a nap before I go to work tomorrow morning to do that shit again. And I'm going to go out and drink this weekend and have fun one day. I'm not on any drugs. That's just that's a week. Don't care. 60 to 100 hours. Doesn't matter. You got to take pills to compete with me's. And I'm just doing this. This is just something to do. I don't get paid to be here. This is fun for me. And I want you to really think about that while you're talking about what you can do to compete. Because this is what I do for enjoyment on top of going out on the weekends. Like, it's not even a question. Like, you will destroy yourself competing with what I can do until I actually die. Like, and do this indefinitely. There's no point, especially when women are so much better at so many more things. I tell her to focus on the things that you're good at, and if you want to work and you want to get out here and get some spending money, go for it. But focus on your core area of competence of what you are skilled at, because you can do many more things than men can do. I don't understand why women zero in on wanting to go out here and work to death. That isn't even cool. Y'all trying to jump in front of buses, be superheroes. You so good at everything else that you're like, you know what? The world's pretty safe. Let's go die like the men. It's stupid. You guys are signing up for a shit detail. We don't even want to do this shit. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, we're only good at a few things, but I'll tell you this. Y'all gonna take another 5,000 years to get as good as what we as at us at being us as we are, because we got 5,000 years of the expectation being like, you're gonna work to death, you're gonna grind yourself to the bone, you will toil till you die, you will jump in front of buses, you will save the women till you die. There's a reason things are set up like that. There's a reason we are the protectors. There's a reason we are the ones who have to put in all the hours. But if you want to get into some of those lanes, you've got 5,000 years to get good at it. And what's going to happen is y'all going to be ugly and have strong jawlines, just like us. And you're going to smell bad. Congratulations. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, Ray. R-Pain, let me ask you a question, sir. Say, for instance, you have a son. Okay. How do you tell him how to balance being a father and a husband at the same time?
Yeah. Well, too bad I don't have a son, but I'll never trade my daughters in.
Right.
But what I tell my son though is the balance between being a husband and a father is being a husband comes first. Your marriage is the center of your family. And it's funny, I had a conversation like that with my wife. The very first time she said, her priority is her kids. I said, let me stop you right there, baby. Those are our kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I said, they ain't your kids. They're both are our kids. And I said, it's our relationship is the center of our marriage, of our household. We take care of each other, the kids will get taken care of. That's what I tell my son. You take care of your marriage, take care of your wife. Everything you do in life is a choice. And a lot of people don't realize we're all where we are based on the choices that we make. And a lot of our choices are subconscious. And that's a good thing because we don't want to contemplate every damn thing we do. But some choices do require, contemplation because you need to be able to see where a choice is going to get you. So I would tell my son, listen, if you before you find your wife, I hope, we're going to vet her properly so you stay married. Like me, for some reason, I don't know how I looked up on it, but I've been married for 36 years. And it wasn't this big struggle love a lot of people talk about. Not for me. Not for me at all. And I almost hate to say it because, first of all, nobody believes me. It's like asking a woman about her body count. Nobody believes me. I say, man, my marriage is pretty good, And I don't know, my wife will come on and say, well, it might be good for you, but nah, she's happy. I know she is because she goes to sleep in 2 seconds when her head hits the pillow. She don't got shit to worry about. So I take a little bit of credit for that. But so to go back to my son, I'll tell him, be a good husband. Have a strong marriage. And however many kids you have underneath that, father, you'll take care of them because your marriage will make sure they're under your umbrella. The umbrella, your protection. And I believe that's how it should happen. Don't, try not to argue in front of your kids. Make sure they don't use you against your wife and vice versa. And, just, stand on one square that you own as a man, your leadership in the house. And that's the real one square that really matters. The rest of it, a lot of it is negotiable, all that other shit that people get wrapped around. As long as your woman respects you, she's loyal to you. And for me, exclusive to me, the love stuff and all the puppy stuff, that matters. But the big things matter a little bit more to me, and because they matter, I think a little bit more to the woman. So anyway, that's it. I just tell them, make your marriage strong, and your kids will follow. And if you have advice for your kids, then that's you'll be giving them the right thing, a way to stay in line. You'll know when they get out of line. So I mean, that's what I would say. I hope I answered the question a little bit.
Yeah, that was on time right there. The next question is for Ricky. Ricky, quick question for you. We all know that our kids like to look up to us as if we are the superheroes, and we want to be our superheroes to our kids. How important is it for your kids to see you overcome struggles? And sometimes, if you're wrong, how important is it to admit that you're wrong in front of your kids?
I mean, the answer the latter. Admitting you're wrong is part of being a man.
Right.
Right. When you're wrong, you're wrong. Like I said, it's not an argument. When you're wrong, you just admit you're wrong and you move on. Try to get an understanding, because if you thinking you're right, that means you do not have an understanding. Right. As far as being a superhero, I never try to portray that with my kids. I'm a flawed person. Right. The biggest thing I try to teach my kids, especially my sons, is just to be decent human beings. Right. As far as that's why I want to agree with Mr. R. Payne when he said don't argue in front of your kids. No, you should argue. I ain't gonna say it should be a practice. It should be something you aspire to do, but you should have confrontation with your mate or other people in front of your children, because it teaches them conflict resolution.
Right.
Right. People are gonna conflict. People are gonna bump heads. People are gonna disagree. Again, it's not what happens, it's how you deal with it. And if people are hiding things from their kids behind closed doors and whispers and silent calls, then your children, they're going to learn that conflict resolution from somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree with you. That makes sense.
Right. So
Right.
this why I do not agree with the notions that people say, well, you know, you seeing me seeing this, the kids ain't, they seeing the kids seeing me like this, it affect them. No, the reason why the kids see you like that is because you don't know how to handle the situation. You didn't know how to manage your emotions. You flew off the handle, right? Instead of handle it like what you're supposed to be, what everybody say they is, grown.
Absolutely.
Right. So again, like I said, man, the expectations are yours. They're not your children's. Right. Us as people, as humans, right? Because we have the ability to communicate and say, I don't know why people keep acting like they can read each other's mind. I ain't met a psychic yet that proved he or she was a psychic, right? But we
Right.
put these things on other people when at the end of the day, they gonna be responsible. It's them. They're the one at the end of the day, when they laying down, like my sister said, people passing away by themselves, no family. They're the ones who sitting up there when ain't nobody around, when them lights out, when them tears coming out your eyes by yourself, and ain't nobody else there to wipe them. You the one who got to deal with it. You and you
Absolutely.
alone. Right? So those expectations are yours. Yes, we all wish our children could be the next Bill Gates, or not Bill Gates. Let me take that back. My bad. Right? The next, entrepreneur, or the next
Right.
person who changed the world. I understand that, but that's a hope and dream, guys. Your kids are gonna be their own people. I done said this before. I'll say it again. The same with you. Your mom or your dad, if you had some semblance of a mom and dad, had an ideal with you. Go to school, get straight A's so you can go to college, or you can do this or that, or learn a trade, right? But at one
Right.
time or another, right, you looked up to your mom or your dad. And you was like, you know what? I think the way you think is wrong. You know what? I think I might want to make my own decision and find out this mistake for myself, or find out this path of life for myself.
Right.
That's every person's right. And just because they're your children, don't mean they don't have that right. You bought them here. You bought them here. The rest is up to them. Give them an instruction. Give them the instruction. Leave them with a foundation so that when things go bad, they always have a place to come back to.
Right.
Right? But
Right.
they gonna go their own way, man. I don't. What do I know? I'm just some dude on YouTube, man. That's all I got.
Thank you, Ricky. Miss Granny Jones, let me ask you a question. Jenny, let me ask you a question. Just like we talked to Ricky about conflict resolution with the parents, how important is it for children to see their parents be affectionate to one another? How important is that?
I think that is equally as important. Just like how he was saying that it's important that you see your parents have conflict resolution, which is something that I've talked to people about before. Because a lot of people have this idea that you shouldn't see your parents, or like you shouldn't fight in front of your kids.
Right.
Um, and so, yes, I think that is important. But seeing them be affectionate towards each other is so important, because you're seeing what love is. And I think that we usually think about, um, the importance of a father in a daughter's life, because he's supposed to be the first man to teach her how she's supposed to be loved.
Right.
And that is why so many women they crave emotional or relationship instability, because that's what they're used to, or
Hmm.
they crave men who are what their fathers were. So maybe someone who's emotionally distant, someone who's a felon, someone who is abusive. And so when you see your parents love each other, you can see like, oh, I want a man who kisses me when he walks through the door. I want a man who, buys me flowers, or um, rubs my feet at night, like I saw my dad do to my mom.
Right.
And so I think that it's really important that we see, because I don't have any children yet, but I think it's important that if you are a parent, then you be the example. Like the old adage is that you have to be the change that you want to see.
Right.
And anyone who does have kids, if they want their children to be in good, healthy, thriving marriages, which is the building block of civilization, then you have to model it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take heat. You're next. Quick question for you. How would you go about teaching your kids the importance of picking the right friends? Because we all know that your friends pretty much have an influence on you. How would you teach your kids to pick the right friends, or them teach them the importance of picking the right friends?
Okay, so this is what I do to my children. My mother did not do this to me, but this is what I do to my children. I tell them to bring their friends over to the house.
Right.
All your friends, I want to meet them, bring them to the house.
Right.
So now when I get around the child that wants to be around my son or my daughter, and then I feed the children, they play, they talk, video game or whatever, or they in the backyard. And then when the child leave, my child immediately come to me and say, "Mama, what you think?" And I'll say, do they come from a two-parent home? And then they'll look at me and say, "Well, they got this issue, they got this issue." And then I'll tell them, "I want you to be mindful because this is what I see." Boom, 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 boom. And they like, "Mama, wow." I'm like, "Yes, be mindful." So I remember telling my older daughter this when she was in ninth grade. She had a friend that she brought over to the house. And I said, "That one that got that hair looking like that, you be mindful of her. She's a wolf in sheep clothing." My daughter said, "Mama, no, she ain't." I said, "Yes, she is. Be mindful." And then what happened in her 12th grade year? Then she found out she was wolf in sheep clothing. She said, "Mama, you just called people out." I said, "No, because I've seen a lot." So that's why I asked them to bring over their friends. I still do it now, as big as they are. And then when they decide to bring home mates, you know what I'm saying, to marry, me and my husband will do the vetting process on our side
Right.
and then say to them, "Boom, boom, boom, this is what we see." I think it's a blessing when you have parents that want to know about your life. You know what I'm saying? If I had parents when I was growing up that wanted to know what I was doing, I think I probably wouldn't have made so many mistakes. But I digress. And what can you do? What can you do? You're just born into this world. You don't get to pick your parents. So life taught me a lot. And that's what I do now. That's how I am with my kids. And I tell people that, my neighbors that have children, and they be like, "Oh, you always have so and so over your house." I say, "Yeah, because I be vetting these kids. I want to see how they are and what's their background and where they coming from." Because I come from the hood, so you can't do no rah-rah on me. I'm gonna catch it. I'm gonna catch I'm gonna catch that foolery. So that's just my take on it.
All right. And this is a quick question for you. Okay. Now, say for instance, you have a daughter. Okay. And she comes to tell you that she wants to be married. What advice would you give her at this stage of her life?
Um, how old are we talking? You
About
saying?
24. About 24.
Hmm.
Just out of college.
And she says she wants to be married.
Right. But she also wants to have a career too.
Wow. Well, that is an interesting question because I think about the way I was raised by my parents. Both of my parents were professional, and both of my parents instilled in me to make sure that you go to school, get your education, get your life, your career, so that you have your own money and everything else. And that's the way that my mother and my father instilled both of that in me. I think that if I had a daughter and she was about 24, I think that education is great. I think that it's important. I think that it's necessary. But I think that I think at 24, you could probably, I think you could do both at the same time, to be honest. But I think that if you want to be a wife, you need to make sure that you're preparing yourself to be a wife. You need to be surrounding yourself with watching your parents or your grandparents, or surrounding yourself with other people who are having successful relationships, so that you can learn from them and glean from them and see, what marriage is all about. I think that you need to be in the Word, be in the Bible, and be growing in that way to understand what a wife is and what a helpmeet is, and also what the things you should be looking for in a husband, and what those expectations are. You have to prepare yourself to be a wife. I would think that I would tell her, definitely we need to meet him. Your father needs to meet him so that he can vet him and ask the right questions, and ask questions that you probably haven't even thought of, to preserve yourself until marriage. And we're going to all be in alignment and praying with you for the right person.
You know what? Earlier you mentioned that she needs to go to school to get her own. Most
I
men.
love your hair.
Oh, thank you.
Rock that gray girl.
That's right, Ricky. Talk that talk.
I'm just a friendly guy. Get out my business.
Listen, we needed that break. Listen, let me ask you a question. Most guys are taught to provide for their families, and earlier you said that a woman should have her own. How would her having her own benefit the family?
Well, I think what I actually said was that both of my parents instilled in me to make sure that I went to school and got my education so that I could have my own money and have my own. Both of my
Right.
parents raised me that way.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that definitely the man is the provider. He's the head, and he's the spiritual leader of the home. So I definitely agree with that, and I will be definitely guiding her to look for those qualities. But I think that I don't see that there's anything wrong with a woman, or even if you want to be a wife, to pursue your educational aspirations or dreams. If my daughter want to be a doctor or something like that, I'm definitely not going to say don't do it, because if you do that, you won't get married, and you won't have a husband, and you'll never have children. I would never tell my daughter that.
Okay.
So I think that she can bring that drive, that example to the relationship and to her own children. She's going to definitely be a helpmate. I mean, let's be honest. Majority of men today do need that helpmate, just thinking about the economy and just the way that things are today. So all of that can go into building the life and the family that they want together. So.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask Ricky a question. Ricky, we already know what it's like to be a man. Go out, provide, that type of thing, right? Say, for instance, you have a daughter. What would you put in her toolbox for her to be a successful wife?
Successful wife?
Right.
I can't, to be honest with you, I can't really answer that question in entirety.
Okay.
I think it's 50% me and 50% my wife,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what I taught my girls was the game, right?
Uh-oh.
I taught my girls what men do and don't, what they
Right.
will and won't, right? I didn't teach my girls to be independent. I taught them to be responsible.
All right.
Right? It's a difference, right? Be responsible. Like, I don't understand how women get this trope that y'all play like y'all don't like every adult should be responsible. Independent implies that you don't need nobody else. I teach my girls, hey, when the right man come along, but you got to know how to spot the right man.
Okay.
Right? How did I teach them that? Don't be laying down with no man that's not willing to take care of you. If he not willing to give you his last name, he not worth being with. Men move a certain way.
That's right.
Every man can't do 100% of what he say, but the things that need to be done, he gonna stand on it. Right?
Right.
So again, they have to watch my wife and talk to her about the womanly woes, right? The things that women gotta do and put up. That's what the lessons of a mother is for.
Right.
The lessons of a father is to tell their daughters how to handle themselves when it comes to dealing with men. I think I did a great job of that.
Right.
Right? So again, all I could do is elicit them with the tools that I know. The other side is on their mama. But, you know, women ain't gonna never take responsibility for that because they ain't got nothing to do with it, right? It's all on the daddy of what type of man. It's all on the daddy of what type of man the girl pick, right?
That's what they say.
Right? It's all on the daddy. But, you know, like I said, that's what they say God gonna do. That's what they blame God because they know he a man. But I digress.
Thank you, Ricky. Reckless Ray, what would you teach your daughter, man? How would you teach your daughter to be a good wife?
I mean, obviously it's a hypothetical, but I would go with Ricky. All you can teach him is the game, because like I'm not planning on having a child out of wedlock, so the mom's going to be there to handle that.
Right.
I mean, again, there's some things that women are better than others. Now, I mean, you can give pointers, but the reality of the situation is, the one thing that I would add to it is, you are going to have to, as a woman, adapt yourself to the man that you're choosing to be under his covering. Because men on a base level, we can agree on like what we would all want. But when it comes down to that individual man, like most of y'all ain't on the same mission that I'm on. I need something a little bit different than what some other men are going to need in their house that's on a different mission than what I'm on. If you're with somebody who's in law enforcement or you're with somebody who's in the military, they're going to need something different. And it's going to be different between the military man and the law enforcement man, because those are different missions. So you just, the one thing I would add is you got to also be able to understand that there's no cookie cutter prototype man aside from the surface layer stuff. And then after you get through that, then it's custom tailoring to your man. Because don't no man want a woman that's for everybody.
I hope not.
So that's the one thing that I would add is the customization. I mean, they're really Ricky summed it up. Like, we can teach them the game, and that's about as far as we can get, because we're not women. Like, we don't know how to deal with stuff, like how to deal with a man when you're on your menstrual cycle. Like, don't be mean to me. Like, I can't tell you how to navigate through that, because like I don't go through that. Right.
Miss Jenny, quick question for you. Do you think today's modern women want to be wives?
Oh, I think that's a really good question. Because I think when it comes to the word want, I think that, yeah, even modern women want to be wives, but when it comes to, they like the idea of it, or I don't know. Okay, so I kind of have to break it up in two categories.
Go ahead.
There are modern women who like the idea of being a wife, but don't actually want it in practice. And then there are women who don't like the idea of being a wife, but they would like it in practice if they actually were to be a wife. But they've clouded their minds with this idea that, you know, I'm just going to be cooking and have dishes up to my elbows every day, and my husband, if I say anything wrong, he's going to hit me or something like. So it's like some of them think that they want it, and they really don't, and then some of them don't think that they want it, but they really do. So I would say that, like, most probably do want to be wives. You know, they're hot girling it up, and they think that that's okay, because when they're done and they turn over their new leaf, and you know they're born again virgins or whatever, their husband is just going to be there waiting for them. And like, because that's what I usually hear from a lot of these ex porn stars and OnlyFans women. That's what they usually say, is that, I still want to get married, and they think that they're not diminishing their value, and they think that they're still going to be able to find a good man, out there in the ether. But it's not realistic because they're sabotaging themselves. But I think they do want to. So to answer your question, I think they do want to.
Let me ask you a question. You said they want to be. Another question: do you think that they're prepared to be wives?
Oh,
that's another question.
No, and that's not necessarily.
Why not?
Anything.
Why do you think they're not prepared?
Well, I mean, I can say without a doubt that they're not prepared, because I wasn't even like, out here, wilding out, and I wasn't even prepared when I got married. And I thought I was. I thought like, okay, I've been reading my Bible, and I've been, I've been watching videos, and I've been, learning how to cook, and I can be a wife. Like, it can't be that hard. I don't have any children. Right. And I just got the wind knocked out of me in my first year of marriage. And I was like, this is not for the faint of heart. Okay. And so, and I'm someone who, tried to prepare. So I think that most women who are career oriented, they are not interested in having children. They don't know how to cooperate with a man. They are not really interested in being domesticated, that they're really not ready. And I think that's why 80% of the time it's the woman who's leaving the marriage.
Good question. Take heed. I'm gonna ask you this question. Like Jenny said, a lot of women want to be wives, but they're not prepared. Okay. Why do you think they're not prepared? Why do you think they're not prepared? And why do you think they don't want to be prepared? Because that's what it seems like.
Well, we're gonna have to can y'all mute whoever got it? Can somebody mute?
Y'all go ahead and mute up.
Thank you. So you know how they say, I get it from my mama. We gonna have to do that. That's what it is. Okay, because we were trained from, you got grandma and mama telling us, I want you to go to school. You know what I'm saying? I want you to only focus on school, and the men will be there waiting for you. I remember doing the video and I was saying to my audience, listen, this is a lie that they told us. That, oh, you go to school, you make all that money, you get your career, and men will be waiting for you. There were no men. There were no men waiting, okay? So we train our girls from when they're young to say, oh, I want you to go to college. I don't want you to be thinking about no man. I want you to get your career and everything. And by the time she finished making top dollar, there's no men in the wake. You know who's waiting there?
Pookie.
It's only Pookie and Rere. The jesters are waiting at the wall for her.
Right.
So all the good men that was trying to kick it to her and talk to her, she was pushing them away because she was worried about her career. She was worried about schooling. Now, I'm not saying we should not encourage school. We should encourage school. It's a good thing. But I myself would never instill in my girls, you don't need no me. I will not tell them that. I will not tell them, oh, there will be men waiting for you. I will not tell them that nonsense that I was fed when I was young. Because and when you look at the modern women now, they don't want to be married. That's the sad part. You know what? I'm gonna share something with you. They don't want to be married because they can't take that responsibility, that accountability, baby. That thing is painful. See, when you have to come across a king, right? When you have come across the king and he's going to make you accountable, he's going to call you on your mess. This is a problem for a lot of women. It was a problem for me too. When I first got married, it was a problem for me too. I was my husband's nightmare. I was his hurricane, okay, his tornado, my first 2 years of being married to this man. I was his nightmare because I came from a family who was governed all by females. And you know, they call that alpha female, which that does not exist. Right. They just masculine, you know what I'm saying? So now I came from that. So I came from, they had husbands, but the husbands were weak. and they ran the husbands. So this is what I came from. So when my husband married me, he saw where I came from, and he let me know, listen, we're gonna change the game because you can't talk to me like this. I always love when he pull his glasses down. What you say? Repeat what you say. So I always laugh when he do that to me. But in the beginning, I couldn't take it because I was governed by all females, and I knew how they ran ship. So I wouldn't just let my husband correct me or say anything to me. And I think because most of us have been raised by these type of women, we have not seen fathers in the home, because more than likely, and you know, this is quiet as kept, mama was the side chick.
Yeah, we
Mama
talked
was
about that.
messing around, and you know what I'm saying? She was not the main chick. So you got mama talking about how bad daddy is and how all men are evil. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
this is what you get when you're growing up. So you got a lot of these young women out here. I had a woman in the comment section tell me one day, I wrote in the comment section, I said, I would never curse any woman and say to them that you should be happy to be a baby mama, a single mother. This is the worstest thing you can curse a woman with. Okay. And I know because I lived it. So the woman said to me, I got 4 boys, I would never get married. I'm going to raise my children, and I'm just going never get married. That's what she said, right? So now in the comment section, you see everybody was swarming. They was hitting her with all types of comments, right? And don't you know, sister deleted that nonsense? She just deleted it because you had to think about it. What did you say that for? You're raising 4 boys alone. These boys will grow up. They will become men. They will marry. You will be in this house alone, and you sitting up there talking about you will just be a single mother for the rest of your days. This is the most foolish thing I have ever heard. I dislike when women sit up here and say they don't need a man, they're independent. I dislike it because I know I was raised like that, and I know how painful it was for me. So when my aunties and my mama and them used to throw their pitchforks up and be like, we don't need no man, this and that. And when I look at them now, as old as they is, and they not doing well, I just say, but you said you ain't need no man back in the 80s. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's how you ain't need no man. You ain't need nobody. Okay. And then some of them ain't have children. So how do you know? It's crazy how we just chant this nonsense that we don't need men. It's horrifying. But when something bad happens, you want all the men to rally. This is the thing I don't understand. And then we sit up here and preach that you don't need to get married. You could raise children on your own. If somebody ever tell me that nonsense, I'll pip smack them because that don't make. First of all, I don't support violence, okay?
All
But
right.
I will pip smack you because this is nonsense. We teach our girls foolery, and they grow up with this mindset that college is the only thing that's important. Their career is the only thing that is important. And then when they done hit the wall, and there's no men around except Pookie and Rere, then they got to sit there and deal with Pookie and Rere because nobody wants them. They have already passed that age that they can have children. So nobody wants you. And the men that was chasing you back then, okay, they already married. So I don't like when we teach our young girls this nonsense that you don't need men, that you don't need to get married. And I'm gonna share something with you. Most of our young women, they not ready. They not ready, and they don't understand the concept of being married because they don't understand the concept of serving. When you marry, you have to serve. And this is how a lot of marriages get destroyed too, because you could be married for like 20 some years and then all of a sudden y'all decide y'all want to divorce. It's because y'all not doing that serving. It's not the wife is not doing that serve transaction. Because I say this on my channel as well, you got to keep that serving transaction between you and your husband. Because when those kids get big, it's only you and him in the house. It's
Right.
only you and him in the house. Those kids go off to college, it's only you and him. Keep that serving on point. I always bring my husband's plate. We always do the transaction, baby. Thank you. And I tell him, oh honey, you're welcome. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? It's just the kindness that you're supposed to keep in a marriage. Because when you start disliking each other, that's where it starts from. Because you'll tell them, oh, go get your own plate. Do whatever you want to do. And this is where these young people get it wrong. They get it wrong. And this is why you see so many people in divorce court, because they took the serving out of marriage. That's my take.
Thank you, Take Heed. Now, Ray, got a question for you, sir.
Let's go.
We were just talking to Take Heed how important it was for women to serve in a marriage. Okay, my question to you is that should your wife bring her whole paycheck and give it to you?
Yes.
Why?
Because I'm better with money. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I mean, unless I marry somebody who's better with money than me, but like, are you trying to win? Or like, what are we doing here? Like, I mean, actually, you know what? No, she should, because inherently, women are just not at large across the board. They're not as good with money. They walk into castles, they don't build them. Like, it just, bro. I've dealt with women. I've dealt with quite a few women that have made quite a bit more money than me, that were worth less than I was. How's that even possible? You got all the opportunities on the planet. You get into the bag, sis. Bet. More power to you. How is it that when it comes to establishing wealth, you are on some bare minimum basic stacking? Like, you talking about saving money in a savings account. Like, you got 60 grand in cash put away that's just losing buying power every year like a dummy. Like, what are we talking about? The person who can multiply the money the most efficiently is the person who should handle the money. If you're engaging in a marriage, it's one pot. There is no, like, don't get married then. Like, why even bother if you're going to try and just do it yourself? You was fine screwing up finances by yourself, but apparently you needed to get married to this man because you couldn't afford sustaining a roof over your head. You needed some covering. Why now that you have the stability that you asked for, are you trying to have a say in where the money goes? Now, if you married a gambling addict, some sort of dud out there, try to marry a Pookie or a Ray Ray who's a dummy, then no, maybe you don't give that man the money. But if you're not comfortable giving the man you're married to all of your check, you shouldn't have married him. That's a telltale indicator that there is a problem, that things are out of order, that you chose wrong. Which leads me back to, why are you there? Is it because two broke people can sustain a household? Because, like, I understand y'all got to survive. It's cold outside and you will freeze to death and no one will care. Because what you're going to see happen as this economy gets worse, because it's going to get worse, is you're going to see people. It's going to get fend for self out here. And for those of you who cannot compete, the thing you don't understand, ladies, is you're not just competing with men for resources. You are in a financial battle as well that our government's playing on us. Now, when we go into this, we're already well into a recession. I understand that a lot of you get your cues from CNN or CNBC or these old geriatrics that are running this country that can't have power of attorney over themselves, but they get to make decisions for you, that keep telling you that this isn't that big of a deal. even though the prices that you're paying for everything have not gone down. That's funny, right? Inflation went down. We're kind of close to where it's supposed to be, but the prices of the eggs is still $10, and everybody's talking about how they can't afford groceries now because you're starving to death. Well, plus side, some of y'all gonna lose weight. That's a win. But the reality of the situation is, as we move forward, people aren't going to have the capacity to care about what's going on with women. The strain that you women are putting on these social systems as they run out of money. No one's going to take care of you. You wanted to be men. Y'all about to find out what being men is really about. I don't know if those of you who pay attention to this type of stuff have noticed the homeless rates of women have skyrocketed. Now, men will go be homeless, but seeing y'all out there in the wild with no protection, just living under bridges, that peak independent womanhood is outside. That's what's waiting for you. Now, that's not a doom and gloom. You got to go do things, but I'm just saying, like, if you can't get fully on a man's program, there's going to be problems. And sure, if you look good enough, you might get to stay inside a little bit longer. But the deal is this: men are wising up. Men are no longer going to live lives of quiet desperation, placating to a chick that got imprinted by me, that's going to make the dude that she had to settle for because she couldn't have me pay for it the rest of his natural life. Them dudes ain't even going to live like that no more, because it's just not worth it. These dudes are not signing up to work hard, do the competition, do the things that we are expected to do to have you make our lives a living hell so that you can think you did something. You should be 100% on board with your man. Y'all should be a team. And if he's not capable of handling the money, maybe you should reevaluate. If you can't give over your check, that's a good sign that you shouldn't be marrying this dude. You telling me that you're going to go there and y'all got to have a conversation about how the money's divvied up because you're going to have to work? Well, newsflash, ladies, you're going to have to work, at least for a little while. Now, is there a plan to get you out? Most likely. I mean, any honorable man's going to retire you first. We know we got to work. But if you can't hand over that check to him and trust that he's going to do right with the money and he's going to multiply that money and he's got a plan set up to get you out the workforce first, get you fully integrated on his program to where you're just working for him, you helping the household, then that's not the one. And it's that simple. That's such a big red flag. It should come with an alarm noise. Like, you don't trust this man with the money. Why are you letting him shoot your club up? Why are you having his babies? What are you talking about? You gonna let this man crawl on top of you, sweat in your face, put stuff in your mouth, bust in you, and then you gonna tear your body up having his baby, but you can't give him your check? Make that make sense. Y'all are wild out here. Y'all are wild. And like, the more I think about it, the crazier it sounds. That's insane. You gonna just let him defile your body and take the whole thing, and then you gonna be like, oh, but this check, I ain't giving you that. Like, you done gave him literally everything else. Like, if you can't trust him with the money, you shouldn't be letting him split roast you then. Like, that's all I'm saying. I'm just like, bro, like, y'all gotta stop. This has to stop. Like, this is crazy. This is the craziest thing.
You can stop it.
Is while we're talking about it. Like, this is messed up. This is messed up.
Thank you, Ray. Listen, I got a question for you. Okay. Just to give you a little bit of story, I got a friend of mine who's getting up there in age, and she had to have surgery. And guess what? She's not married. So she ran across I need somebody to take me to the hospital. You know what I mean? And my thing is this: why is it that so many women don't respect men, and they have all these horror stories from these old wives' tales that women have said around? How do you teach younger women to avoid viewing men as unimportant or unnecessary? especially once we get older in age and we need each other to take care of each other. How would you explain the importance of men and to be in their lives, younger women?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I think that it's a false narrative to say that these are old wives' tale and that there's no truth to any of these stories. Let's just be honest. There is some truth to the things that some young women have heard that their mothers and their grandmothers have gone through. Let's just be honest about it, okay? Those relationships were not always the best relationships, and some strange things happen in those relationships. Some unhealthy things happen in those relationships. So let's just be honest about it, okay? These things did happen. And you know, if you talk to your grandmama and you talk to your mother, like I said, you know, my mother, you're going to go to school, you're going to go to college, and you're going to have your own money. So, and my father as well. But there was a reason that they promoted that. Either there were things that they wanted to do that they weren't able to do during that time, or they wished maybe if they had had the ability to do those things, maybe they may have not stayed in the situation that they were in. Could be one or the other, but they're not all old wives' tale. So let's just clear that. But men are important. Men are necessary. Men are the covering. Men are the spiritual leaders of the home. If you want to have children, you need your man. You need a father for your kids. I mean, that's just it's just the best thing for the children, and it's also the best thing for you. If you want a partner, you want to build a life with someone, you want to share a life with someone, you want to have the good times with someone, you want to grow old with someone, you don't want to go to the hospital alone, you don't want to be in the nursing home alone. That is where that friend, that partner, that companion, that husband, so that you all are there for each other through thick and thin, from the beginning to the end. And that's just so important, and it's so critical. And our grandparents and parents, and even though things may not have always been great, if they stayed together, you know, 40, 50, 60 years, I don't think for 1 minute they regret any of the things that they went through. Even though they did go through those things, they don't regret it because of the value at the end, and everything that they did together and grew, and the families that they built. And at the end, they were there for each other, and they were happy to be there and happy to serve each other. So young women, you need the covering. You need a man. You know, no one wants to be alone. You don't want to go through this life alone by yourself. You don't want to have those kids alone. If I were to get pregnant and have children, I want you there. I want that man there for everything, every pain, every sleepless night, every nauseating moment. I want him there. I don't want to go through all that alone. You know, why would anybody want to do that? So, you know, if you want that life, and you want a family, and you want a husband, and you want that partnership, then you need a man. Period, point blank.
Quick question. Do you think men have horror stories when it comes to women? And
I'm sure.
do you think their fathers encouraging them to say, hey, you need to get your own money, you need to go to school, take care of yourself? Is that the same advice?
Well,
Does it apply?
I would think that every father should be teaching their son that if you desire to be married and have a wife, that you need to be able to provide for her. So yeah, you do need to either go to college, educate yourself so that you can provide for your family, or you need to learn a trade or something like that. I don't think it's necessarily so to be independent from the woman, but you should definitely be teaching your son that that's one of their primary responsibilities, is to be able to provide for the wife and the family if that's what they want to have.
Okay. Our Payne, you still there, sir?
Yeah, I feel like a basketball player that's being frozen out.
Listen, I got a question for you. Our Payne,
Yeah,
does bad parental advice have an expiration date?
it should, but it should. But if you ask the Gen Zers and the millennials, they act like it doesn't. Everything that's wrong with them, they blame on the baby boomers. You know, and actually, we had a pretty nice discussion about that on another show, right? Because they just said, well, you know, the old heads made us the way we are now. I said, yeah, okay, all right, man, let's say that's true. But at one point, what age do you need to be where you say, okay, I don't understand where the problems are. How do I correct it, even though my parents were messed up, right? So, yeah, you can only carry that victimization, but so far. And you know what? There's a psychosis with Black people in general. We still talking about slavery, like we were getting our asses whipped. You know, like I could see like the scars on my back. I was in glory. I actually was in glory and shit, man. You know, based on, everybody has a peer group. I got a peer group of dudes. They're all making 6 figures or more. And every so often, I hear one of these guys talk about white racism and shit like that. I say, come on, man. I said, you make 5, 6 times as much as the average white man. What the hell are you talking about? You know, so, we got to get over the victimization at every level. And this generational kind of thing is one of them as well. Yeah, some of the baby boomers were messed up. Maybe a lot of them were. But they also ushered in the highest technology era of mankind. So there's a lot of stuff, so we can focus on the wrong things. And but you're right. Yeah, I just think there's a limit to the victimization. At some point, you got to get over it and move forward. Especially if you know that you got shit that you need to fix. Let me leave it there.
Absolutely. Thank you. Ray, you had something you wanted to say? I saw your hand up.
Yeah. Arpain, it is your fault. Yeah. Let's be honest. It's your fault. Like the issue is boomers do not come in with any type of humility is the problem. Like y'all fuck stuff up and then come in like, yo, let me tell you something. Like we watched you ruin everything. Like y'all are still in office. There's more of you in the voting block, so we can't vote y'all asses out. You stay in politics till you literally die in your seats. That like you can't fix that because y'all keep voting for these assholes that are yourselves. That's not a fixable problem. The problem is the boomers do not come in with any type of humility. And I mean, like I mentor a couple of the guys over at New Frontier. Like I'm helping them, but I walk in the door like, look, my generation dropped the ball and it's your responsibility to fix this shit. And you're trying to fix it. So like, here's all the game that I've got. Do with it what you will. Do it your way. Because I don't have a right to tell the generation behind me that I dropped the ball for. Like, sure, I made it, but that's me. The exceptions do not define the rule. Now, granted, there's not a bunch of me in office. I'm also not voting for a bunch of me. I'm not keeping me in the power structure, continually screwing things up. The issue is y'all never took seats. You're still in control. You're still shaping everything that's going on to benefit yourselves. That's why people are mad. And I'm not saying necessarily mad at you, but I'm saying as a generational thing, I'm like, them same good old boys is still sitting in there. We went, we marched. Historically, we've done really good at crime. Where are we at as a result of that? Where's the culture at? We've allowed them to come in. Well, actually, it's not we. Y'all have allowed them to come in and infiltrate our culture to the tune to where, like, now that I'm ranting, everybody wants to tell me I'm racist. Like, these are all things that are rested at y'all's feet. It is because you were the generation that fought these battles. So the results therein are yours. The power structure that is are yours. The laws that are yours. Like you are accountable for all of those things. And I've yet to talk to anybody who came in and said, you know what, we fucked up, but here's the game that I can give you. Do what you need to do with it. You guys don't hand off. You still want to be in control. You still want to be revered. And you haven't earned it.
Can I ask you a question? Some of these guys you're talking about are from the silent generation, like your president.
Yeah.
Of the counter. So don't be blaming it all on the boomers, man. Stop it. So listen,
but why?
listen,
What
listen,
is
one
the
thing
boomers? Are the boomers, or are they not the largest
okay,
generation?
yeah,
They are the
yes.
largest voting bloc.
Let me tell you this too. They're also the most married. And here's the one thing we have to take a penny for. Yeah, I'm gonna be real quick. The fact is, we created the safety net for all of these baby mamas.
Yeah,
we created because the reason why the baby mamas were able to get away with having babies outside of wedlock is they had grandma and they had that infrastructure to go to. So we take a big hit for that shit because Gen Zers, they ain't gonna do that.
The divorce court laws and the child custody laws.
Okay. So
those are also at your feet. Y'all did a good job taking care of everybody but yourselves. But I mean, and the thing is this, I understand why, because that you guys were a duty bound generation. You were like, yo, we can't have these women out here like this. The issue is when you give women anything, it becomes a weapon. One of the things that they're better than men at, they can weaponize anything, including the help you gave them.
Oh yeah.
Like that. So like now we're trying to roll those back, and now there's more women than men who vote. So like we can't even get rid of this shit. Like we can't. So like a lot of the reason and that you have the rant is because people can't understand the context. But the thing that I will give you is most of the younger cats that are blaming y'all for everything also don't want to acknowledge the why. They don't look at the whole picture. They just go, this is your fault. And it's like, well, there's accountability and then there's decisions. Like, I can't blame you, Arpain, for me being a dysgenic loser who's not productive in society. That is not your fault. Like, you can go, hey, you know what environment you was in. We know what the assignment is. As men, we always do. We know what the assignment is. So that is on them. And I would give them that pushback. I'd be like, bro, your life sucking is your fault. You suck. That's fine. We can have that conversation too, but it's not Arpain's fault unless we're talking about things that are legitimately the boomer generation, which would be policy, law. we can talk those things, but to go and because of the divorce court laws, be like, hey, bro, nobody told you to go shoot up clubs and make a bunch of babies so that you could get dragged over the coals. That's not your fault, Arpain. You didn't tell them to do that.
I thank you.
But the laws and policies and the systems and the way things are, like, that is previous generation. And I mean, the issue is those people like Angry Man, we in the same generation. He's not, his hands ain't clean. We raised a bunch of weak, dysgenic, loser ass kids that are now also voting, that are now wanting to identify as toaster ovens. He ain't taking accountability for that, but he's a part of a generation that wanted to be friends with their kids because your parents spanked you too hard. What are you talking about? And y'all was weaker than the previous generation. Like there's not a bunch of me's, there's not a bunch of mandrels running around here. Those generations didn't produce that. So every generation's gotten weaker, and it's easy to look up the road, but like the reality of it is, we have been culturally, as a society, kicking this can down the road for so long that like now it's like throwing shots at other generations. Like we can't even do that. This ship is about to sink, bro. But like, we ain't got time to talk about who brought the water in at this point, especially if you're positing no solutions, no actual ones, which a lot of these content creators that want to blame generations and do that, again, they live here in this space. They're not positing actual solutions. They're just getting people riled up because everybody feels good when we get to point the finger at somebody else instead of going, hey, maybe I suck. Maybe you suck. It's not even a maybe. You do suck. If your life isn't what you want it to be and it's not moving that direction, you suck. Deal with it. Deal with it. You're the one who drives that ship at the end of the day. Because if you really about that life, at a certain point you stand and say no, and then the only option that they have is to get you up off this planet. That's also an option. You have that choice. So like I don't really play the blame the older generation. At this point, we're doing damage control if we want this country to continue being what it is, because regardless of what anybody wants to act like or say, we're all in this together until the United States breaks up. And if it does break up, guess what? We still on this landmass together with whatever else is here. So blaming the older generation really isn't moving the needle forward. You're going, oh, I want to acknowledge the problem. Okay, now what? Slavery. Okay, now what? I ain't ever picked anything. Like the last piece of fresh produce I had a white person handed to me after they picked it. Like I can't relate, bro. So like we've got to start being solutions based in regards to this. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting here talking about, oh, it was this generation, oh, it was that generation, as this country burns around us, and there's going to be nothing left. And then what? Because I hate to say this, but I'm going to say 95% of y'all Americans are not globally competitive. You're not built to play a global game, because realistically, in the global sphere, you have it so easy. You can't compete with them. So you need this to work. And I don't think y'all understand how bad as you guys want to hate America, as bad as you guys want to shit on this country that we live in, that you won the genetic lottery to be born here during this time period. As bad as you think it is, it's worse everywhere else for you. And that's just not based on, oh, how you look, because you, as a race, black people, we can leave and get treated better. Not gonna lie. You're just not capable of competing, because you can't compete here where it's easy. It's hard everywhere else. I mean, y'all better get it together, because there's literally, most of y'all won't be able to compete and exist in any of these other countries, because you won't be able to survive there, because they're not going to help you. There's not going to be someone to give you the answer. You're going to have to figure stuff out on your own. There's no answer book for you. There's no safety net for you. All of the privileges that we enjoy in this country do not exist for us outside of here. It's you eat what you kill, and most of you ain't hunters.
Did you hear what I said?
I'm gonna let it go. I'm sorry for ranting on y'all.
No, there you go. There you go.
Jenny, let me ask you a question. This question is for you. You heard Ray and you heard our pain. From a woman's perspective, do you have expectations for previous generations on how you to proceed going forward in life?
Yeah. I think that it is important that if that to move forward, you have to acknowledge the mistakes that were made, because if you don't acknowledge the mistakes that were made, then how can you accurately move forward and correct them? So yeah, the baby boomer generation does have a lot of blood on its hands for the way that things are right now, but it can't all be laid at their feet, I feel like, because like the baby boomer generation, they complain about how, oh, these kids today, they're crazy and they're lazy and they don't do anything. And it's like and then the young generations always say, well, you raised us. So,
right.
The silent generation, or I don't know what generation it would be that raised the baby boomers, but maybe there were some serious flaws in their upbringing. Maybe that's why they raised people who took the country and completely flipped it on its head.
Yeah, those people were inundated with war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And stock market crashes and just plain out survival. You know what I mean? So that's probably what they were raised on. So I don't think they get enough credit for making it, through what they had to go through. You know what I mean? Because nobody has a podcast for the older generation. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, whatever you guys say. You know what I mean? So that was the reason why I asked that question. Do you have expectations for the older generation? And if you do, what are some of those expectations?
The expectations that come to mind initially are that the older generation are supposed to be wise enough and have gotten wisdom by that time that they can teach the younger. So like Anissa was saying earlier about how if she had a daughter that was 24 and marriageable, that she would tell her to be the kind of woman that is in the Bible. And so the Bible speaks about how older people are, like older women are supposed to teach the younger women to love their husbands, to love their children, to be sober, to be keepers at home. And it's the job of the older women and it's the job of the older men to teach the next generation. And I think that whether it's a baby boomer or whoever, the older generation has really dropped the ball because, they're not leading by example. They're still in the clubs. They're still getting drunk. They're still being wild and reckless. And it's like, where are the standard bearers?
Let me ask you, what would you expect to see in a perfect world? Because we live in an imperfect world, but if you could produce that, what would that look like?
I think that it would be more older women, like the expectation of the older people is what you were still saying. So yeah,
Right.
I think that it would be more older women, taking the time out of their day to maybe lead little small groups, teaching women how to cook, teaching the young women, because a lot of young women don't know how to cook anymore. They don't understand different techniques. They don't know how to sew their own clothes. They don't know how to raise their children. They need to teach them the importance of actually raising your own kids and not just shipping them off to daycare and shipping them off to school as soon as you can get a second that's free. And so I think that is really important, that I would expect an older woman to be more of a teacher and to be more of a guide.
That's a great question. I don't know if you notice or not, but America is fat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we have a hard problem because we don't cook anymore. You know what I mean? McDonald's every day. You know what I mean? That type of thing. And sometimes we don't put an emphasis on nutrition as we should. I was watching a video the other day of how they had kids who had to go through physical education every single week. They had to do calisthenics. And those people had like basically no body fat. And now we look at people today, it's like we like Juicy J around here. You know what I'm saying? You say no to ratchet with Juicy J cake. You know what I'm saying? We got chicken everywhere. But my thing is this: what would you tell women about the importance of making sure that you prepare healthy meals for your family so they can be productive in the world? What would you tell those women?
Okay, well, this is something I feel I can really speak to because this is something that I am very passionate about. I am very committed to cooking, home cooked meals and making my food nutrient dense. And it's so invaluable because for one, you're feeding yourself, and then two, you're feeding your husband, and your husband needs to go out and he needs to, fight the world and take on the world and bring home the bacon, and he needs to thrive. And as the husband, more often than not, it's the man who dies first, for whatever reason. But a lot of the time, it's just that he'll have a heart attack or his health is just not as good as the woman's. And so you as the wife, it's your responsibility that, you can't control everything, but, he should be eating nutrient dense foods. And then it also goes to your children because for one, your children grow inside of you. So if you're not giving them the good building blocks from what you're eating, then they're not going to have it. And then they're not going to see that as a pattern when they're out of the womb and they're seeing you eat and they need to be strong individuals. And so the knowledge is out there that, everything that the food pyramid that we learned in school is junk. Everyone thinks that being plant-based is the best or whatever. And it's just having a serious a value of health is so crucial, especially in the Black community. Like, we love our fried food and we love our deep fried stuff and we love our greasy and quick and really soulful, hearty, comforting food, but we gotta do better about eating more lean and eating more less processed, eating fresher things, eating things that are more local. So yeah, it is so valuable.
Let me ask you a question. So basically you're saying if you actually cook for your husband responsible meals, you can get more mileage out of him. You're a provider protector. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there. Now,
Yeah,
also there's an economic component to also eating in as well. Could you share with us the benefits of actually eating in more than eating out?
okay. I don't know the exact number that I'm about to quote, but I heard a man speaking. He was doing a lecture about this, and he said that eating out is approximately 113% more expensive than cooking your own food. And I recently gave up buying my food from grocery stores because I found that the quality wasn't the best, and I find that I get a much better deal if I go to a farmer's market. Because at the grocery store, whether or not the fruit looks good or if it looks bad, you're going to pay the same price. But at the farmer's market, you can get a better deal if the fruit looks iffy or if it's dented or if it doesn't look very good. They'll give you a discount because it's more about moving the product than it is about making a big profit on it.
Right.
And so you can get a whole caseload of peppers or what have you for a discounted price. And now you have to process it yourself. You might have to chop it up yourself and put it in your freezer or dehydrate it or whatever. But now you're making, exponential on your income. And so there's that. Another money saving thing is buying things in bulk. If you were to buy a half a cow at a time, you would actually be saving a lot of money on your beef. Or if you would buy a whole pig at a time, if you were to buy whole chickens, that's also a money saving aspect. So yeah, cooking from scratch, because what you're paying for a lot of the times is the processing of the food. So if you're gonna buy let's say you're buying a pre-cooked breaded chicken breast, that's a lot of processing that's gone from a chicken that's whole to that spicy breaded chicken breast or whatever. So the closer that you buy it to its natural state, you're decreasing your what you have to pay because they haven't done as much to it. And you can do that yourself. You can put, once again, going back to the health, not just the cost of it, but you can add your own breading and you can add your own seasonings that could be organic or homegrown. That's another thing. Growing your own food is also very cost effective. And so you know what you're eating exactly, and you're actually saving money. And so, yeah.
Well, thank you. Not only that, you can, save more money to put up to, get better cars and houses or whatever, or save money for college. You know what I mean? Make life a little bit better if we were a little bit more responsible. Does that make sense?
Yes. To have a very thriving life, it takes a lot of forethought, which a lot of people don't do.
Really? But that'll work. That's what I'm talking about. Now, on to Rick. Rick, let me ask you a question. You heard our pain and Reckless Ray, okay, talking about the previous generations and older generations. I don't know if you know this, but we're probably somewhere in the middle, Gen X, if I'm not mistaken. Quick question for you, man. Is it our responsibility to teach the next generation of men, or should we just let them wait it out and get their own experience?
It's your job to inform them, but this y'all time.
Yeah, we the new elders.
Right, it's your time. Like, look, wait till y'all get older and watch what y'all kids say to y'all.
Right.
Oh, Dad, you didn't spend enough time. Oh, I didn't. I really wanted those Gucci shoes, not those yours.
Did you hear what I said?
That's right.
It's the nature of humanity to want more. You want it more than your parents. Your parents want it more than their parents, so forth and so on down the line. That's the problem with people. Y'all, this is crazy. Y'all hate comfortable.
So they're allergic to it.
No, it's the thing they say you should never do, right? But that's really what everybody's striving for, is to be comfortable. Right? But my comfortable ain't raised comfortable. That don't make him, we still men.
Right.
Right? So, like I said, at the end of the day, people, y'all believe what y'all want to believe. Like I said, I don't know nothing. I learn every day. I don't know nothing. Right? Your life is yours. You can keep blaming your mama, your daddy, the Gen Xers, you can blame whoever you want. You're not an adult till you take responsibility for your own life.
Absolutely.
Keep blaming them. Go ahead. Keep blaming them. Let's see how far it gets you. Oh, my mama wasn't. I said it earlier. Your mama and daddy had one job. That's to get your ass here. That's it. They did their job. Anything else is extra. You are here to complain. I know a lot of y'all don't understand and get that. You are here to complain. It's graveyards full of people wishing they can complain like you right now. It's graveyards full of people wishing they're saying, well, my mama didn't hug me right. This is your life. What are you going to do with it? You, not the government, not your neighbors, not Sukiana, not your mama and your daddy. What are you going to do with it? Are you okay with your life? Are you? Are you okay with your relationship? I don't care what my marriage look like outside to y'all. I could care less. Me and my wife is straight. We straight. We this. Right? So again, man, what you want? It's all about what you want. If you want more, go get more. Hey, give it the old college try. Keep going till you can't. And ain't nobody gonna be mad at you. But that don't make you no better than a man that's happy going to work every day, providing for his family, barbecuing on Sundays. You just want a little bit more. And that's cool. But why does that have to make me look less than? That's the question y'all should be asking yourselves. Why? But no, it's our responsibility. The game don't change, only the players. That's why I tell y'all this y'all time. Don't looking at me. I'm an OG now. Right? Me and my wife get up. Hey, baby, we getting old. Sure is, baby. So hey, we had our time. We had our time. This is y'all time. Y'all keep blaming us. What you gonna do with yours?
Mm.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you. Y'all, I appreciate y'all coming out tonight. I really did enjoy each and every last one of you guys. What I'm going to do is I want you guys to give your final thoughts and also where they can reach you. We're going to start at the top with Take Heed to the Message, and then we go with Ray, Anissa, Arpain, and Ricky.
Well, I enjoyed the show. Thank you for inviting me, Black Man Unfiltered. Once again, I greatly appreciate you. My final thoughts is that even though we are given parents that may not have raised us properly, right? You still have your own mind to want to live right. You know what I'm saying? You still have your own mind to want change. So, yes, you may have lived in a drug home. Yes, maybe your mama had a revolving door. Everybody knew who your mama was. Yes, maybe you had drug dealers knocking down your door and all this stuff. Yes, maybe you didn't have the best. But that doesn't mean that you go and lay waste to your own bloodline and do nonsense so that your children will suffer because your mama and daddy ain't do right. So we have to get out of that, and we have to stop making that excuse. Oh, well, my mama and daddy wasn't there for me, so I ain't gonna be there for mine. That's not fair to your children. Your mama and daddy made that choice, but you won't have to make the same choice. We do have to stop blaming the generation before us. But I'm going to say this. The generation before us have to say they take accountability. They have to stop dodging that bullet, saying they don't know nothing about it. Oh, well, we ain't act like that. No, y'all act like that. Y'all act like that. But they ain't had no cameras back then, okay? So all that hoochie mama stuff, sleeping with the mailman and the garbage man, nobody knew that because there was no cameras. Nobody knew when Aunt Jimmy, Auntie Jana, Uncle Jimmy, and all of them didn't look alike. They didn't look like Grandpa. Nobody knew that because there was no cameras and DNA was not done. But I digress. So we can't just keep blaming them for everything. That doesn't mean because your mama was doing that chicken hole stuff don't mean you supposed to be doing that chicken hole stuff. Okay? Just because you saw it don't mean you supposed to do it. And y'all can find me on YouTube with Take Heed to the Message. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram as well as Anwa Abang 1973 on Instagram. And on Facebook, you can find me as Abang Anwa. That's my stage name. And thank you for inviting me, and I enjoyed the panel.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Take heed. And now, next up, the man himself, Reckless Ray De Niro. Ray, you're on mute.
See there. I tried to be cool. Man, and see, I did it twice, bro. I ain't never gonna be cool like Ricky. This is upsetting. Okay, so I'm gonna play this out real quick. I tried to come in all deep and introspective, and I muted myself twice. That's what happens, bro. Don't panel up with your heroes, folks. You just gonna embarrass yourself. No, okay, so in regards to the topic, are we doing enough? No, we're not. And I'll tell you, I 100% know we're not doing enough because most people are not where they believe that they should be because they're complaining. Telltale sign you're not doing enough. The generations before us, your parents, whatever situation you find yourself dumped into, because the honest to God's truth is none of us voted to be here. None of us asked to be here. We just showed up for whatever reason. And you know, that is what it is. And people do have terrible, hard lives. A lot of them have lives that are worse than anyone in America because they're born into third world countries and they get the luxury of starving to death, which is actually horribly painful. Only second to getting stomped to death by a mob of people. That is also horribly painful. But starving to death is terrible. It's atrocious and it hurts every second until your body actually gives up. The funny thing is, it doesn't. It continues to fight until it actually, the last cell in your body is just like, we ain't got energy for this no more. It's over. We didn't get a rice kernel today. Something to think on while you're mulling over how terrible your life is here in America, where we have homeless people that are obese. So no, we're not doing enough. We could all do more. We could all do better. The expectation of your parents for you, obviously you should want your legacy to continue to move the bar forward. That's how civilization got here, is every generation successively moving the bar forward. Question we have to ask ourselves is, as a civilization, are we still moving the bar forward, or are we getting ready to roll this off a cliff to where there's no coming back? You don't have to have people co-sign every single thing that you do. We spend so much time in these spaces really judging what every people who you're never going to meet, who are in income brackets and tax brackets that you ain't never going to see because you're busy judging what they're doing and how they're living their lives versus fixing your situation and how you're living your life. Everybody doesn't have to co-sign everything for everybody. If you're single and you want to be single, that's fine. Be single, but be single and shut up. If you're married and you are enjoying life and being married, then I want to start seeing some YouTube videos about how great your lives are. and stop telling everybody that they got to do exactly what you're doing. Take Heed made a solid point. Back in the olden days when everybody was doing whatever they wanted to do behind closed doors, it was behind closed doors. Don't document your life and go through your hoe phase and think that it's great and then wonder why on the back end no men take you seriously, because I'll definitely fuck you, but I will never marry you. Like, it's just what it is. Like, you want to put yourself out there as a plaything. Guess what? As far as men are concerned, the good ones, the ones you say you want, you're a plaything forever. You're a drop in the bucket. You're not keepable. It's just what it is. And is it fair? No. But I mean, when deer's getting eaten by mountain lions, they don't think that shit's fair either. It's just the way stuff is. That's how men are wired. We don't want somebody who's for everybody. We definitely don't want somebody who's documented being for everybody. I mean, look at what's going on with Jake Paul and his supposed maybe not wife now. And she wasn't even actively being a hoe. She just said some hoe stuff publicly. Embarrassed that man, brought shame to his household. And then got outed by somebody he's getting ready to fight. So now he can't even lose this fight, because if you get beat up and your chick's outed as a potential hoe, like, that's bad news bears. So he better win. But everybody doesn't have to co-sign what everybody does, but you also don't have to bring people into your business. Your business should be your business. Like, there should be some mystery to you. And in closing, you can do better. Now, I'm Reckless Ray Dinero. You can find me on YouTube at Reckless Ray Dinero. I'm on Instagram at Reckless Ray Dinero. Most social media things, you can find me on there. I'm also on TikTok and Twitch. Find me anywhere. We do a live stream where we talk about whatever y'all want to talk about on Thursday nights, guns and butter. And yeah, do better. Do better. Your lives are only going to get worse if you don't strive for something. That's why you're depressed.
Thank you, Ray. Anissa, you're next. Final thoughts, and tell the people how they can reach you.
Well, thank you for having me this evening. Once again, another great conversation. Just really short. The past taught us a lot and it showed us a lot. But I just think it's time for everyone to just move forward. You know, what are you going to do with your life? What do you want for your life? How do you want to accomplish that? What do you want that to look like? Surround yourself with the people that are doing the things that you want to do, that can be great examples for you, that have great marriages, have great families, and surround yourself with the people that are existing and living the life that you want to live. I'm all about accountability. I don't really deal with excuses. I think it's time to stop blaming everyone. Take accountability for yourself, take responsibility for yourself and the life that you want to lead. I'm a strong believer in that. So that's all I have to say. My name is Anissa. I am new to this, so I'll pop up from time to time on different platforms. So you'll be seeing me around.
Thank you so much for coming out this evening. We really enjoyed you this evening.
Thank you.
Our Payne, are you still there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, sir. What are your final thoughts, and how can the people reach you, sir?
Yeah, right. Well, one of the things I want to say is that I have empathy for the modern man looking for wives today. However, they also need to understand what kind of men they need to be as well. You know, the expectations need to be level set. And the reason why I do is because I still am an advocate for marriage. But when I found my wife back in '87 when we got married, I didn't have to go through the numbers that the guys have to go through today to find them. But because back then the women that, you know, were somewhat guardians of their virtue, you know, they weren't hidden behind the modern women. You could tell the difference a lot easier, right? So I believe there's a lot of Black women who still have some virtue left. However, they hide behind the women who don't. They circle the wagons around the women who don't. Sometimes you can't tell the difference because they want to be part of the sister code, and I think that's a mistake. So, but because a lot of them want more, but you know, if the guys can't find you, then you know, and some of that's the guys' fault because I don't think they have a level of discernment as they should either. Because a lot of men, Black men, are just starting to get used to having standards, but they're willing to give them up for a big booty and some nice boobs, you know, and that's a mistake. And we have to understand that if we want to have a relationship with a woman, we have to vet them properly, just like we got to get vetted properly. And that's one of my biggest videos on my channel, how to vet and court a woman for marriage. I got 10 steps for that. And they're not all inclusive, but I think they still apply today. And that's some of the stuff that I went through when I got married, even though it was way back when, and I keep telling people this, I don't think the nature of men and women have changed much since the beginning of man. It's just the tools that we use now are more abundant and they get abused. And women have changed much more than men have. And I know they don't like to hear that, but as soon as the pill became something that they could take and their sexuality was unleashed and feminism talked about getting a whole bunch of dicks as empowerment, there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. you know. So, but anyway, but that's not to lay blame. It's actually it's a power in the sexual marketplace, and women don't understand that they control that shit. And if they do, they don't want to take accountability for the control they have. You know, and men, forget it, we're constant. Men, whether you're a saint or a sinner, you want to be married or you want to be a gigolo, men's demand for sex is constant. It has been that way since the beginning of time. So that being said, man's sexuality is predictable. And if it's predictable, it can be manipulated. So anyway, and we don't have no shortage of evidence of men destroying themselves, even from the highest level over the bar. You know, just go through history, and there's just no shortage of men. Okay, so anyway, I mean, I'm adding a few things. So my channel is marriage, politics, and sports. So I like the relationship stuff. I talk about marriage a little bit. I talk about politics because I have a whole thing about politics and how Black people need to divest themselves from the Democratic Party quick, fast, and in a hurry. That doesn't mean we have to become Republicans, but I can't stand our blind faith in those guys who led us down the primrose path. And all we got for that is LBGYNs and all this other kind of bullshit going on, and everything goes. And you could be a monkey if you wake up on, you know, whatever the hell you want to be. I don't like that. You're losing control of your children and all that kind of stuff. So, and then of course I like sports, you know, and I have my little hashtag, you know, on the swivel at the sports bar. And I talk about different sport events. So that's my channel. And the one thing I do, I'm not a big YouTuber, but I said, since I'm gonna be here, I might as well do something on my channel. I'm gonna land it here. The one thing I can give myself credit for is I think my thumbnails are pretty good.
They are
pretty good. You gotta look at my thumbnails and know exactly what I'm gonna talk about. And if you're not interested in that, you don't have to waste your time. So I just learned how to edit too. So I'm saying, shit, man, you know what? I might get a little dangerous at this thing. When I do a live, you know, then I'll have arrived. But you know, that's a little ways off. Anyway, that's it. Good night. Thanks for having me up. And nice meeting everybody here again. The ladies I haven't met before, and I know Ricky and the rest of you guys. We'll be back again probably Friday with the barbershop.
All right. Thank you, Arpain. As a pleasure. It has been a pleasure as always, sir. Thank you so much. And we're all learning every day, man. As long as we're alive, we still gonna learn. I'm still learning, you still learning. Why won't we just learn together, man? And get better together, you know? Iron sharp as iron. That's right. Ricky, final thoughts, sir. And how can the people reach you, man?
I'm on YouTube under Ricky Williams, #TWT. I got a show I do almost every day called Truck Chronicles around lunchtime, CST, 11/12/1. We just talk about stuff, you know. Today we talked about, you know, who was which one of y'all was was a GBB. Y'all know what a GBB is, right?
What's that?
A get back baby.
Oh, get back baby.
Right. Get back baby. What your mama they told you, them strange stories about your daddy, they don't match up because she was a get back baby. Your mama was out there moving around funny. Right, trying to get back at the man she was really loving, and you know, your dad, you know. So we talk about stuff like that, you know, just general life stuff. Boxing, sometimes I'm not into boxing like I used to. I ain't got enough time to watch, to be honest. I'm working 2 gigs, so I'll be everywhere. As far as this subject, man, like I said, man, love your children. You know what I'm saying? Love your children, but don't love them more than the mission. You know what I'm saying? Imparting them the wisdom that you can. Give them a baseline and a foundation, and pray a lot. Right? Pray a lot. Because the world is out here. The world is out here, and you can try your best with your children, but it's a million different influences that got a lot more fingers on your children. Because, like I said, we all got to eat. Right? And we all out here chasing this thing, so we can do the very thing we supposed to be doing, which is take care and support our families. Right? So, impart and pray. Take care of yourself and your families, man. Everything else will take care of itself.
Indeed.
All right, that's all I got.
Thank you so much, Ricky. As always, it's been a pleasure, sir. You are a scholar and a gentleman. As always, it's been a pleasure.
I appreciate when you lie to me, man. Thank you so much.
And last but not least, Miss Jenny. Miss Jenny, what are your final thoughts and how can the people reach you?
So, I guess to kind of encapsulate what everybody was saying, that you will never be able to please everybody, and so like what I talk about on my YouTube channel is just about current events or about different topics through a fundamentalist Christian perspective. And so I feel like, yeah, you're never going to be able to please everybody. So just focus on pleasing God and let the chips fall where they may. And so, yeah, the Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth is what I feel like it is. And I try to follow it as much as I can. And I feel like when you do that, then that's how you're going to have the best outcome. And it just, it's never, your life is never going to be perfect, but, on this side of heaven. But, you don't have to add on unnecessary stressors and problems, by having kids out of wedlock or by, marrying somebody who's an idiot. If you follow what God says, then you won't add unnecessary problems to your life. And so my YouTube channel is Miss Jenny R. Jones. That's where I predominantly post, and then I also post on TikTok, and it's just Ginny, Ginny. Those are my two most popular, and I just talk about all different types of Christian-related things, and I do a live stream on Fridays.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's truly been a pleasure meeting for the first time this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. My final thoughts to wrap everything up. I want to free you guys from something. You do not have to be perfect in life to get what you need to get. Sometimes you'll win and sometimes you'll fail, but that's just a part of life, man. The ups and the downs. You can learn from both going up and going down. And in the meantime, make sure that you enjoy the people who are around you. Make sure that you help some of the people around you. Make sure you take care of yourself. A lot of times we like to put this unnecessary pressure on us in this hustle culture to make sure that we hustle until we fall out. The mission is to get through life all the way. You know what I mean? With the person that you're supposed to be with. And make sure that you take care of you and make sure you take care of yourself. And that's my final thought. You guys can also reach me at Lost in Translation Podcast on YouTube and on Instagram. You can also find me here on Tuesday on Talk That Talk Tuesday as a permanent guest. But today I'm hosting. Thank you so much. Black Man Unfiltered say he's screaming all the way from Jamaica. Thank all of you for being here tonight and the panel for dropping those jewels and those gems. Now back to his anniversary 11. Thank you so much, Black Man Unfiltered, for allowing me to host tonight's show. I want you to make sure that you enjoy your wife and celebrate life and enjoy your anniversary. And may God bless you and many, many more. This has been the final thought that I had today. And I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. Talk That Talk Tuesday on Black Men Unfiltered. You guys have a great evening. Thanks, chat, for coming out. And those on the replay, have a great evening.